YouTube. And welcome to the Steelers Depot Monday live stream here on Monday, September 6th. As always, I am Alex Kazora. Alongside me is Dave Bryant. Thanks for being back with us, Steelers Nation. Steelers' first game of the season against Buffalo Bills this Sunday afternoon. So just a couple days away. Dave, there's a whole lot to recap and talk about with the 53-man roster. Roster trim down, the trade for Akella Witherspoon, and the DJ Watt ongoing situation. And right now, I'll put up an article that you just wrote, just got posted to Steelers Depot, that I think explains better than anyone else has written so far about what the potential and most likely hangup is with the contract there. So, Dave, how you doing? And thanks for being back on with us.
Oh yeah, happy. Let's see what today is. Today, Monday. Happy
Monday.
Monday. Happy week 1 to everybody as well too. Peace and love. Thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. So while you guys read that article from Dave, you guys can feel free to send us questions about the Steelers, whether that's about week 1, the season, how the roster's been constructed so far, or anything like that. Just let us know if this audio sounds fine, if I sound okay, if Dave sounds okay. And then we will get to the first couple of questions here. And if you could like the stream as well, that's always helpful for Dave and I to get more people to the channel and to the stream. In particular, I do want to warn you, I'll probably wrap up maybe 5 minutes early. I have a fantasy football draft at 8 p.m., so I want to get ready for that, but it'll just be a couple minutes earlier than usual. So we'll start things off here with Mutated Genome. He has the first question about an hour ago. He says the Steelers are scrambling to finalize their secondary, looking at the contract Hilton got. Could they have signed him for the same and Sutton? Would anybody else been sacrificed in order to do this? So we had this conversation on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and I think that that's possible. But the problem was at the time, especially, you didn't know that David DeCastro was going to be on his way out and have those recurring bone spurs in his ankle. So as I think you said, Dave, it's kind of hard to try to reverse engineer this thing with that in mind after the fact.
Yeah, there's part of you that wants to easily say yes, that's the answer. Move on, but trying to interrupt the time space continuum and how all that went about and what did they know when they knew it type of thing. It makes it really impossible. I mean, it depends on what narrative you want to have here. Do you want to be the boy they screwed up? You could kind of create a scenario where you support that, but on the other side, if you don't want to put the blame on the organization, you could reverse engineer it and say, look, they didn't know until David DeCastro showed up. Look, anytime you're dealing with a salary cap and contracts, especially something the way when you look back at the exact numbers that Mike Hilton signed for. Yeah, I mean, there's part of you that says there's a way around all of it there, especially when you look at his cap hit and all. But to give a simple yes and no answer to that based on the way things played out here and trying to and not knowing a lot of the exact variables of when they knew it, it makes it impossible to do.
Yeah, it really does. But in hindsight, considering how adamant this team has been about finding a slot corner with a skill set that's similar to Mike Hilton's, they have not done that so far. You might as well just re-sign Mike Hilton in the first place. But obviously, that did not happen, and now you're playing against him twice a season instead with Cincinnati. Mike,
There's part of us that wants black and white,
mhm.
wants to be able to chop this stuff up black and white and, not being on that main side, knowing everything that transpired just makes it impossible. Yeah,
Right.
we can guess to some degree of certainty on a lot of it, but there's also a lot of it that we can't.
Absolutely. Mike does so with a pair of questions. We'll get to the first one and his comment as well. Some kind words for us. Says, hi guys, it's game week. Let's go. Another excellent job by the Depot team this past season. Thanks again for all your hard work. So what's the deal with Millette? Is he on the roster? I assume that's in reference to Arthur Millette being left off the Steelers depth chart today because no nickel corner was listed there. Millette is on the roster. He's part of the team, just barely not part of the depth chart.
And they quit as soon as we pointed that out on the Twitter machine. It changed on the Steelers website.
Oh,
They
did
got
it?
that up. Yeah, they got that updated real quick. The problem is that the game release, the PDF, that goes out to the media, that's on virtual paper.
It's sent
So
out.
unless they pull that out and edit that, and they, we'll see if they do. But I mean, there's like I don't know how many pages in that in that release, like 200 and something.
hmm
Uh,
Was
we'll
Millette listed as a nickel corner or as an outside? I didn't even see that.
I think they listed him as like an outside corner on
Okay,
the website
like probably
there.
like the
I
right
think they
corner.
just said we got to stick him in there in
Yeah,
a hurry. You know,
that's fine.
where it just goes to show you can't always trust these things. And
Hmm.
uh, I don't know if somebody messed up in editing or if Mike Tomlin just forgot to put him down, or what was the case there. But yeah, Arthur Millette is on this roster, and now it'll be interesting to see a if he makes it all the way to Sunday, and b uh, is he going to be your nickel slot?
Right. Mike is also asking about Henry Mondo. Did he get picked up anywhere? Do the Steelers still have one open spot on their practice squad? Mondo, I believe, cleared waivers today, so they believe in the anticipation this will get placed on the practice squad. Steelers have 15 guys on there, so yes, Mike, they do have one open practice squad spot, and I imagine Mondo probably lands there by tomorrow.
That's I meant to check that before I got so tied up. You know me, once I get going down a rabbit hole,
Hmm.
I don't come up there. Let me pull that up real
Yeah,
quick and
double
see if I
check on that,
can find
and then we'll get to
for sure.
a
Let's
super chat
see.
here from Travis.
He did terminations via the waivers. Yes, he did clear waivers today. Henry did, and as expected, one, two, three, four, five other guys officially are now on the practice squad. Daniel Archibong, Carl Joseph, Malcolm Pridgeon, Steven Sims, and Derek Tuska. All those guys obviously had already been reported, but because of the COVID stuff and all like that protocols, it did not actually become official and by the NFL standards until today. So that did indeed happen today as well too. So they do have a roster or a practice squad spot open right now, and we'll see within the next 24 hours who they fill it with.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Herco with a very, very generous $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Travis. Much appreciated. Now, you've set the couple in before during these live streams. He says and asks, "Good evening, gentlemen. Hopefully, all is well. Sad to hear the passing of Tunch. Not really a roster question. Do you think the Steelers have a tribute to him? And do they wear his number this year in honor of him?" I couldn't tell you exactly what the team has prepared to honor his passing over the weekend. I imagine that at least there'll be a tribute to him at some point for maybe the home opener against the Raiders in week 2. Will they wear his number? I'm not sure, but I kind of doubt it. But I haven't heard any announcement about the Steelers of how they plan to honor or recognize him at any point during the season.
Yeah, it sure would be nice even if you just did a patch with his initials or some sort of helmet sticker with his initials.
Hmm.
I would. I mean, we don't know for sure, and probably the team doesn't even know just yet.
Right.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they did that. That would obviously be nice to see.
It would.
I hope they do something. I mean, what a human, as I like to say.
Hmm.
He is 85 times the human that I am.
That most of us are, myself included, for sure. A great player, a great broadcaster, and by all accounts, from the people that knew him, just a great friend and a genuine person. And there aren't a lot of people like that anymore. And Tunch is one of them. So I think, as you said, or someone had said earlier, that the world is worse off without Tunch Ilk in it.
Right. You haven't got him a good one, that's for sure.
Hmm. Lumberzack94 says, "Hey Dave and Alex, thanks for the hard work as always. I think Ebron, who does have his flaws, has gotten somewhat better, but Fryer Moose is staged for some big playing time. Who gets more snaps total?" Again, not that I take too much stock into depth charts, but it was interesting. The one position where there were co-first stringers, the or tag was at tight end with Eric Ebron or Pat Fryermuth. I still think Ebron outsnaps and has better numbers overall than Pat Fryermuth, just because that rookie learning curve for a tight end is among the steepest in football, probably second only behind quarterback. But there's no denying they like Fryermuth. He had a really strong summer overall, and while his run blocking needs to get even better, it's better than where Eric Ebron is at right now, who I agree has improved slightly at least as a run blocker. So we'll see if that number and dynamic changes as the season goes on. But Fryermuth certainly will get a fair amount of playing time this year, probably about 45 to 50% of the snaps.
Yeah, what did we say? What did I say about when he got drafted? About 400 or so, 500. I
Hmm.
think that's realistic. Depending, both guys stay healthy and all that, stuff you got to quantify every time you talk about things like this. But I think more than anything, it'd be interesting to see his usage inside the red zone. And as the season goes on, when they get into 11 personnel situations with the one tight end, three wide receivers, if maybe Fireman starts picking up some snaps in that aspect of there,
Hmm.
especially attached to the line of scrimmage snaps and all like that. And hopefully you throw out of those situations and don't always run out of them, so you don't become predictable there. But look, I mean, it goes without saying they like the kid, right? I mean, even dating back to his pro day there at Penn State, and the kind of the coming out game, if you will, during the preseason and the red zone. This is a guy that even if he has less than 30 catches, as you and I talked about on the podcast this morning, you can see third of those be touchdowns, I think, when the dust settles there. So if any of you still participate in the medieval touchdown only leagues, I have one that I just drafted last night, and I got Freiermuth in the last round in that.
Nice.
There is my third tight end. So I think he could definitely be, more, it goes without saying, be an asset in the red zone there.
Absolutely. I think he could do some damage inside the 20. David makes a good point about Tunch being inducted into the Hall of Honor this year. Certainly he'll be highlighted during that ceremony, but anything additional, we'll see what the team does there. Back to the questions here. Actually, a comment here from Braden Miller who says, "What's happening, Steelers Depot? Thanks for all the hard work you pour in your content. Appreciate that, Braden, very much." John Pennington says, "Hello, Dave and Alex. Do you guys think the Steelers should be more physical at the line of scrimmage with Diggs, with help over the top with someone other than Edmonds?" Yeah, I think the key when you face those top level receivers like Stephon Diggs, who Pittsburgh's going to see week 1 against Buffalo, is to vary things up. To play, if you play the same thing over and over again, whether that's man zone, press, off, whatever the case is, offenses are going to figure that out. The receivers going to figure that out, and they're going to adjust. So I think you need to be able to vary up your approach to him. But certainly, if you think about a guy like James Pierre, he might be actually maybe the best press corner on this team right now. If you can be physical and reroute and jam and disrupt the route, that's certainly a benefit. So if you play, press coverage with Pierre, the overall coverage you play can change and be dictated. So, it just depends. There's a lot of variables there. But certainly, if you can get physical and try to, stop a really good route runner and a really good release guy like Stephon Diggs, then that's a benefit.
Until they legalize the lead pipe coverage, which I doubt they ever will. Look, that's a guy you're not going to shut him out, at least you don't think you are, and you're not going to have a guy like Joe Hayden travel with him. That's just not what the Steelers do when it comes to that. So you're not going to shut a guy like Diggs out, who is, quite arguably one of the top 3 wide receivers, I guess, in the NFL, especially from a route running perspective. You just got to limit the abuse that guy does to you on. So in other words, I mean, you can probably count on him getting good 6 to 7 catches in that game. You can't let him big time you. You can't let him explosive play you, and you can't let him have that one of those catches be in the end zone on you. If you can limit him to something like 6 catches for 79 yards and no touchdowns, I think that's a huge win. You're not going to shut him out. Yeah, he deserves most of the attention there, and I'm sure he'll likely get it. But you just can't let him big play you. And I mean, who was it? It was last season, right? That he turned both that he really worked over the Steelers secondary.
The second half of that game, he just took over Sutton and Nelson.
Right. And that's just something that you can't let happen in this game. He's going to get his. You just can't let him big play or stand in the end zone with one.
Yeah, I would say no trips to the end zone and only one explosive play and not a double explosive play from Diggs is a win in the Steelers book. That's kind of how I'll define that.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Hurst.
That would be a big growing up, assuming it goes the way we hope it goes with James Pierre on the outside there. Welcome to the NFL, brother. Sure. Here's Stephon Diggs on your side.
Travis with another very generous $5 super chat. I promise you don't have to send in super chats, Travis, but we're very thankful for it. He asked, thoughts on the Ravens reportedly working out Lev Bell. Personally, I think Harbaugh screwed the team by getting them in this position. Dave, what are your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell resurfacing as a tryout guy in Baltimore?
I mean, I don't know how they've screwed themselves to get in the situation.
Well, I guess the idea is playing Dobbins in that game, I think is what Travis might be saying here.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a no-win situation there as a coach. I don't think if you don't play the guy and then you go into the season and the running game's rusty for whatever reason, and people say, see, you should have played him for 8 or 9 snaps in the preseason. Whereas conversely, if you go, if you have what had happened, you play him in the first quarter of a game and he ends up tearing his knee up. It's just, I mean, what's the right answer there? And it's always a result biased result, and answer to that is always the best answer, I think. Obviously, if Harbaugh, thought that the kid would have taken a double, a low shot to the knee there, he wouldn't have played him there. So, thoughts about, I mean, having Bell sign with them doesn't bother me, overall. And boy, you want to talk about a double whammy. They lost Justice Hill to an Achilles now
Hmm.
too. So their top two backs are now out for the season. It looks like there. So now you have Gus, and make no mistake about it, Gus has done some damage to the Steelers, has he not, Alex?
He has, yeah. I mean, the whole Ravens run game is just the Steelers have not stopped it well enough for 2 years really.
Right. I mean, I'm not worried about Bell signing with him if that's part of the question there. I think his better days are obviously behind him now.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not too super worried about it. Again, hasn't even been signed. Obviously, I know Travis said just worked out there in the comments, so we'll see. Yeah, I'm not going to lose a whole lot of sleep though if it does happen. And Travis, thank you for the super chat, sir. So you made a comment here. You were generous enough to come on my podcast twice. The least I can do is give back to the cause. It's all love. Very much appreciated. Right back at you. Travis, another super chat here from Gaming with Geo. Another Ravens question. Any idea how Big Al has looked in Baltimore? I heard that things were rough early, predictably so, with him transitioning from left tackle to right tackle. It sounds like things have gotten better, but honestly, Geo, I haven't spent a lot of time hearing about how things have gone. I know Stanley's back at left tackle, so I assume Villanueva is going to be the starting right tackle this season. Maybe some more growing pains with it, but it sounds like things have kind of calmed down after a maybe, again, predictably bumpy start.
Mhm.
All right, back to our questions here of the non super chat variety. And thank you guys so much for sending those in. If you want to send in a super chat and come to the front of the line, as those guys did, feel free to. Logan Bain Sauce, just hypothetically, would you give up TJ if it meant you get a top three pick in the upcoming draft to get a rookie quarterback? So, yeah, we're knee deep here in the hypotheticals. I mean, I get the question there, and you want to play the value game of the heir to Ben versus TJ Watt and what's worth more. But man, I got TJ Watt. I got a guy that's on a very strong track to be in the Hall of Fame versus a unknown rookie quarterback with a bust success rate's about 50%. So I get the question there, but I have no interest in any sort of hypothetical of dealing TJ Watt, no matter what the potential return might be.
Yeah, I don't. I always like to know with the going with what you have. I mean, just because you have a top three pick in a draft does not guarantee you that you will not miss on a quarterback, as we've seen time and time again there. And I'd much rather have Watt for a couple more years.
That's the old Family Guy joke that it gets posted on Twitter occasionally, where it's the mystery box versus the boat, and Peter wants to take the mystery box, and Lois is like, why not take the boat? And whatever the joke is, I'm butchering it here, but Peter's like, the boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could be a boat. That's kind of what it's like. Just take the boat and not the
Uh,
mystery box. So, get the
you're
question
not
though.
going to pull out. You're not going to go all Kelly on us tonight and rip off a John McKay quote, are you?
No, yeah, that was not Brian Kelly's smoothest moment. The setup that for that was so poor, like because the McKay quote was funny because the question was, "How do you feel about your team's execution?" And his answer was, "I'm all for it." So it was set up well. You can't set up your own joke the way that Kelly
He
did.
tried to right. Exactly. He tried to set up his own joke there instead of, he was, if it had been asked about it, he could have said, well, like the old John McKay, you say I'm all for it.
Right.
And then he would have, aha, we would have had fun with that on Twitter. But the way he tried to set it up and the delivery, it was painful, man.
Yeah, really cringy there. Another super chat. You guys are way too generous tonight. Really appreciate it here. Muhammad Al Ali for a $20 super chat with a comment there. And I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. He says, I just want to say Derek Watt will have one catch. Book it. Love your work, guys. So one catch, Derek Watt, special teams captain, by the way. So kudos to Derek Watt for that honor. And thank you so much for the super chat, Muhammad.
How about Watt on the wheel?
And you want to wheel out from somebody. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll probably happen.
How about a Watt on the wheel for 30 or 40
Hey,
yards, Muhammad? How about that?
I'm all for it. All right, let's get to some more questions here. Another TJ Watt question, kind of worst case scenario type stuff from Chan Yang. What do you think we will do if we can't extend TJ before Sunday? Do we just go in preparing to tag him? Dave, your thoughts.
Uh, repeat the question.
What do you think we will do if we can't extend TJ before Sunday? Do we just go in preparing to tag him? So hypothetically, no deal gets done with Watt. What happens?
It's gonna be ugly, man. I tell
Hmm.
you, because I'm not 100. I don't think we're going to get to the point, but let's say we do.
Hmm.
Uh, if I'm TJ Watt, I don't play for $10.0889 million, and probably everybody going to run out of the chat right now, and probably a lot of cuss words going to get thrown my way here. But I understand the business side of this. This guy is arguably the best pass rusher in the NFL right now, and to expect him to play on $10.089 million when all that really separates you, which I think all that separates you right now, I just wrote a big long post about this, is just the guaranteed money past the first year, then shame on the Steelers. If look, at some point this is going to end for the Steelers.
Hmm.
Is it going to be TJ Watt? Is it going to be a player 5 years from now? I don't know. But the Steelers' method of not guaranteeing any more money outside of the first year is just, I mean, it's dated, man, and it's been dated for some time. And I know why, uh, taking the Steelers side of this too is they say, well, look, you got a 10.089 million fifth year option, and you got back-to-back franchise tags that we could hit you with. We can limit you to around $50 million in total, and that's our ammunition that we're using against you. I
Hmm.
get all that, but there comes a time too where you got to get with the times. I think, uh, is that time now? I mean, uh, what is the happy medium there? I think the Steelers will say, well, take the deal that we have on the table, which guarantees you, 40 to $50 million now. It results in you being the highest paid player in or defensive player in the league at $30 million new money average. And look, TJ, we have a long history of paying out these contracts. It's virtually guaranteed. The problem is, virtually guaranteed is
Is
not the
not
same as
guaranteed.
fully guaranteed.
All right.
So I definitely see both sides of it. What do I think happens if this thing doesn't get done? Uh, I mean, obviously, you would have to put the franchise tag on TJ next year to prevent him from hitting free agency, right?
Hmm. Right.
So that's that's the starting point, at least right there. Where it goes from there, I do not know.
Yeah, it'd be the Le'Veon Bell situation where you couldn't come to an agreement, before the tag, so you use the tag, and it's the only other option you would have at that point. So let's hope it doesn't come to that point. That'd be an ugly, messy situation, and a really disappointing one for a situation where Watt wants to stay, the Steelers want Watt to stay, and you just can't get over that presumably that one last hurdle about the fully guaranteed money. So we'll see.
With him being a Watt too, I mean, is it worth it to play for 10.089 million when you probably got pretty good insurance and earnings in that family taking care of you there?
Yeah, it's something to
Whereas
consider. I mean,
where
he
you're
hasn't made a
where,
lot of money himself, I suppose. Though
no,
is the thing.
no.
So I don't know what's in his head. Obviously, I'm sure he's done well, but again, let's hope it does not get to that point. It is hard to see him sitting out an entire season though because of it. I mean, that's just hard to get my head around.
It's also hard seeing him playing for
Yeah,
$10.089
that's true. Which is harder
million
to
dollars.
envision. Is
And I know people have a hard time wrapping their mind around that, saying, "Man, that's $10 million." Well, the fact is we're talking about, him getting locked into 100 million over the next 3 years.
Mhm.
That's the big difference there. And you risk a knee injury where your cap, if you for some god known reason, I mean, that might be the last $10 million you earn in the NFL.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted. But I admit I'm getting a little anxious about the deal getting done, just so he can be out there and ready for week one. Couple of super chats coming in here again, Travis. No more super chats after this. Thank you so much, but I'm cutting you off here, closing your tab. No question, just saying that Steelers Depot would not have been duped by Bishop Sycamore like ESPN. Yeah, what a wild story that is there. And this school been playing for a couple of years. They're not just even brand new, but finally exposed this year. So more I read about that story, the crazier it just seems to get.
Alex was a star running back at Bishop Sycamore, and I married a girl you wouldn't know her. She went to Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, there's been some good high quality memes about Bishop Sycamore here. Got more super chats here. One from C Bizzle Nizzle for $5. Have you considered career retrospective series in the offseason? Hearing tape breakdowns of Greg Lloyd or Joel Steed would scratch a nostalgic itch. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that before, to be honest. I just wonder how much overall appeal there would be. Obviously, I think some some guys who watch those guys play would really enjoy it, but finding enough tape, which I mean, you could, it wouldn't be all 22, but there'd be TV tape out there. But then just, would there be enough demand for it from, a mass audience standpoint would be maybe the question there, C Bizzle Nizzle.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. And boy, look, you wouldn't have to twist my arm to look at some old all 22 from that time, right?
Yeah.
I really hope we reach someday where maybe they uncover the vaults from some of this stuff from back in the 40s and the 50s. I mean, I love that old. I know you do too,
Hmm.
Alex. Some of that old pre 70s footage and all like that. I live for that kind of stuff. I could get lost and just spending the rest of my life charting some of that stuff, there. But with the masses, probably not. We'll see. You never know as we continue to grow and all. Who might have time to do what? We'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll, we'll follow it away.
Little off-season project's not a bad idea. I have an idea for something I want to do next off-season, kind of a bigger project. I don't want to spoil what it is, but I do have one kind of big off-season project already planned. John Fleckenstein, interesting question here. $5 super chat. Thank you guys very much for your generosity tonight. He asked, who will win the annual Cameron Kelly Award, the projected week one starter that will make the coaches go, we've made a huge mistake? It's a really good question, John. I'm trying to think of what guy that would be. Hmm. What do you think, Dave? Week one starter that would make
Uh,
coaches go, we've made a huge mistake.
I don't know. They put Joe Schobert out on the wide wide
That's true.
receiver.
That's on them, not the
That
player.
is that on Joe Schobert? Uh Yikes.
I mean, there isn't obviously that major hole in the team or that brand new guy that you're really uncertain of. I mean, obviously, Chukwuma Okorafor at right tackle is not something I'm excited for. I mean, left tackle, I was going to give him more of a shot there because it's more natural to him. You hide some of the run blocking, woes that he's had at right tackle. I mean, it might get a little bit better, but not by much and probably not enough to where this team wants it to be.
Yeah, I mean, and Cameron Kelly came out of nowhere. Do we really have somebody? I mean, did James Pierre really come out of nowhere? I mean, it's somebody we've been talking about since late last season.
Hmm.
So, but whereas Cameron Kelly was a guy that really came out of nowhere. I guess, God forbid, if you gotten in a position where Jameer Jones had to play a large amount of snaps, maybe that's the way.
Yeah, I think he's saying the current projected week one starter, who will not be maybe the week one starter, but the week 7 or 8 starter. But yeah, I think this roster overall is still pretty strong. But that offense line in general, I think is going to have some cringe moments. John, I think we all kind of have accepted that at this point. Just hopefully limit the number of cringe moments. Mohammed, here another question. Do you think Alex Kazora gets a start at right tackle over Chooks? Haven't seen the tape yet. I'm getting inserted into a lot of positions here.
Whew.
Listen, I've been hard on a core four. I'm certainly not better than a core four. But yeah,
What's your combine measurements, Alex? What are you
not good.
5071? Is
Oh
that
god,
right?
I wish I was 5071, maybe with my shoes on, get some cleats on or something, probably like 5060 if I'm being generous with myself. So not
5060, what, 136? 1
I haven't weighed
126?
myself in a while. I'm probably like 130. Not right tackle material if you haven't picked up on
Okay.
that. But I still think, and again, I know that it's not going to happen here in today's depth chart confirmed that I would still start Joe Hagan at right tackle because I want to run the ball this year. I'm kind of interested in trying how that looks. And so that's the guy that's going to be your best run blocker, not Chooks. Back to the questions here, and again, appreciate all the super chats. Let me scroll back up to where I was at before. Wes Hickok, how many wins will it cost us if Watt holds out this season? I think it's at least 5 games difference. Well, A, let's hope it doesn't come to that point, and B, I don't think it would be 5 wins. I mean, you're asking basically what is his war, to steal the baseball term. I don't think the difference between Watt being there and Watt not being there is 5 games, and even for quarterbacks that can be pushing it in terms of a 5 war type player. But yeah, he'd probably be 2 games. I don't know, something like that, easily. The good thing is you do have Melvin Ingram, who's been really impressive, and Alex Highsmith. Depth there would be more of a question mark, obviously, the way it was post Dupree's injury last season. But yeah, it would be obviously a huge loss for this defense. Let's see.
Agreed.
Next question here comes from, again, Mike Adesso. Hey, Alex, you made it clear that Witherspoon has improved his tackling the last few years, which is good to hear. Would you say he's similar to Cam Sutton in that area or not quite even there yet? Yeah, I wouldn't say he's quite at Sutton's level yet, but it's to the point where you can live with it. When he came out of Colorado, to me, you could not live with that poor tackling and run defense overall. Now it's in a place where He's still not going to be a great tackler, but it's enough where he's not a total liability on the field. Ivan says, in all caps, did we sign TJ Watt? They have not, Ivan. We'll let you know. We'll promise you we'll let you know whenever
You
that
you
happens.
won't you won't miss it when it happens. I
Yeah.
promise you.
Tyler Moore, if Dan Moore plays well week 1, do you think he's the starter going forward? Good question, Nat. What happens in weeks 2 and 3? Banner's not coming back until at least week 4 at the earliest, and that is the earliest. There's no guarantee Zach Banner returns week 4. I want to point that out. So, what happens after that will be key as well, but certainly if Moore plays well at left tackle, he could stick there.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think at this point now you start in week 1 as long as you see progress in him, and he doesn't have any Mike Adams games. From what year was that? 2013,
I'm
was it?
trying to forget. That sounds about right. 2013,
As
2012.
long as he doesn't have any huge Mike Adams 2013 games, then I think he just look, he's gonna have his hiccups along the way here. I think, but as long as he's not getting Ben killed every other snap there, I think that's a guy that you'd let work through it here. And then the question becomes, what happens to Chikwama Okorafor on the other side? Now, I guess the real question comes is, what if for some reason Chikwama Okorafor comes out and just lights it up at right tackle, and if Moore's playing okay at left tackle, maybe Zach Banner resumes Mr. Eligible,
Hmm.
job there. So let's hope that that's good problems that this team has to encounter come week 4 of the season. A, Banner being healthy enough to resume to come off of IR, and B, man, those guys are playing well. What do we do with Banner?
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of variables there that makes it really hard to just take a snapshot of things, even if we assume that Moore plays well in week 1. Another super chat here from Muhammad, and I'm cutting you off as well. Appreciate it very, very much. But last one, my man, for tonight at least. He says, favorite signing this offseason is Dave. Who do you think your favorite Steelers offseason signing was?
Oh man, Melvin Ingram, man, that guy ended up being. I mean, look, I didn't think they would go after him for several reasons. I thought he'd be too expensive. B, I thought the whole age thing, and I was kind of worried about him coming off injury. So even if once they did sign him, I was kind of like, I don't know, what did they really get there? Is he healthy? What kind of player is he? And from what I've seen so far, it's OMG level. And I mean, the guy's just been a beast. I mean, in a couple of those games, what was it? The Lions, man, he tossing people around. He tossed that poor rookie around like and what Sewell was the first
Hmm.
round pick, was he not?
Yeah,
I
seventh
mean,
overall.
he was just disrespecting them bad, and we've heard in Alex's reports about how good Ingram's been against the run, and not only that, it's a guy that can play on both sides of the line for you. So uh, he, man, he's the guy. I mean, that's got to be my choice, I think.
Mine as well. Not only for his individual play, which has been excellent, but just the overall depth at the edge position, which was such a huge concern to me when it was just Highsmith and Watt, and then it was Cassius Marsh or Quincy Roche, and now neither Roche and Marsh are a Steeler, and Melvin Ingram is, but got better overall. And Mohammed says that Melvin Ingram guy is just a grown A-word man, like Dave
Hmm.
says. So he's with Ingram as well, and so are we. Ultimate Elite.
Just hope he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, man, and if all three of them stay healthy, that it would definitely be a better threesome than they had
Mhm.
last year, and that's saying a lot, man. Because last year obviously wasn't bad. Dupree went down. That obviously hurt you. And then Highsmith, I think, went through some late season kind of growing pains there. But I mean, Highsmith looks like he's taking that next step. So if you have all three of those guys stay healthy, that's going to be one. And if you get Tuitt back, that front seven's just going to be tough to deal with.
Among the best in football, if not the best front seven in football, if those guys get back and play the way they have played so far. Ultimate Elite 11. Hey, Alex and Dave, got here late. My bad. My question is, could you see the Steelers letting Washington, JuJu, and Deontay go in free agency? I know they don't re-sign their receivers often. Yeah, Washington's gone after the season. JuJu We'll see. I don't know where that's at right now, and Deontay's still some time on that, but you never know there. So it's hard to see all those guys walking at their point when their contracts are up. But I think Washington is gone, and we'll see what happens to the other two.
I know people ain't gonna like my answer here, but I think there's a chance that look, obviously with Washington, it would be surprising. I think if he's back next year, if Juju catches 80 something balls and his average yards per reception goes back to what it was back what around his second year in the league. I mean, are the Steelers going to dump the bag out for him? I kind of doubt it. And then Deontay, look, I mean, Deontay's a heck of a route runner, separation, all like that. But unless you know, he's got to go to that next level here in these next couple years. And if he doesn't, I kind of foresee him going riding off in free agency. And I mean, obviously the question does not include Claypool there.
Hmm.
There's several years to go before you have to worry about that. But the Steelers just don't have a history of dumping the bag out when it comes to people not named Antonio Brown.
Where do you think Johnson's game needs to go to take that next step and that next level besides the hands? Obviously, he's got to cut down on the drops. Is there another area of his game you want to see him make a big jump in or
Yeah,
on?
I think just those oh my god moments that
Hmm.
Antonio, those one where you run out of superlatives to use with him. How many times has Deontay made that oh my god catch so far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely has, but I get he's not at AB's level, not anything close to resembling that. I agree with you there.
So we just got to start making it where he's got to visibly become that number one guy, that
Hmm.
that 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 opposing defenses game plan around and everything else, and he's not there yet. I mean, granted, he's a great route runner. Nobody, you put him up there top of the league with the guy that the way he gets separation and all, but we got to see that next level in him these next
Sure.
couple of years.
No, I get that
and
for
and
sure.
and the drops have got to stop too, or at least
Yeah,
limit.
that's the big thing. Again, they'll occasionally happen. It happens to all receivers once who get targeted 100 plus times the way Johnson will. But yeah, it can't be the way it was last season. But I don't think it'll be as much of an issue as it was in 2020. All right, let's see. Next question here comes from. Let's see. I had a question here and lost it for a second. That's from John. We have a super chat one. Storm Woodside. Are the Steelers going to change the way they do business? I know you've kind of referenced this already in tonight's show here, Dave, about the TJ Watt situation and where the Steelers are at fully guaranteed wise. But I mean, as you said, they'll have to change at some point. It's a question of when do you change and will it happen now?
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where I get enjoyment out of, where the rest of you probably don't.
That was the feedback on the tweet you had today about having fun watching the SWAT process, and everyone responded, "We're not having fun."
Right. I mean, this is the ultimate kind of stare down, right? I
Hmm.
mean, it's going to come down to principles versus accepting the new way to do business. And once again, the Steelers will contend that we have got we've got back to back tags and the fifth year option that legally that we can use here because the players voted for it. They approved it. So we are going to use these as tools as ammunition in our negotiation. We're still going to give TJ Watt a fair deal. We're just going to limit the amount of fair of guarantee. And make no mistake about it, folks. I don't care what you're reading wherever. This is not about TJ Watt making $30 million a year. This is not about cash flow with TJ Watt. This is not about cap charge in 2021 with TJ Watt. This is all about guaranteed money past year one here in 2021, and that's plain and simple because you cannot tell me that the Steelers don't think that TJ Watt is worth 28 to 30 million dollars a year. They know
Hmm.
that. They have had no issue in the past making certain players the highest paid players at their position, and I don't think they have any problem in doing that on paper with TJ Watt too. It's all about the guaranteed money past the signing bonus when it comes to the Steelers, and with Watt being a non-quarterback, the Steelers are trying to hold serve here once again with this and hold the line because look, if they break it here with TJ Watt and give money past year one. What's going to happen the same time next year when Minka Fitzpatrick wants 19 or 20 million dollars a year and he wants the first 2 or 3 years of his deal
Hmm.
fully guaranteed? What is the agent supposed to do that represents him there? So look, I mean, the will the Steelers call their bluff? Will the Steelers call Watt's bluff in the final hour? And say, look, take it or leave it. Here, you can have 50 million in 2021, but we're not going to fully guarantee anything more than the signing bonus and what you're going to make in 2021, and take it or leave it. That will it come down to that? We'll see. I mean, I obviously thought the deal would have been done maybe by midnight tonight. I think the next kind of line in the sand, obviously, is before they practice on Wednesday. You're running into Watt's playing time in week one. I think
Right.
if he can't practice on Wednesday, Thursday to some degree, there, then obviously the huge deadline is probably by the time they get on the plane to travel to Buffalo.
Yeah, just to kind of finish up the point there, and there's been a lot of reaction in the chat from people who thinks that the Watt will sign, he won't sign, he'll play if he doesn't sign, et cetera, et cetera. So appreciate your feedback there. I mean, obviously, as the player, we talked about the virtually guaranteed isn't actually, literally guaranteed. But if you're Watts camp, if that's the line in the sand, the Steelers aren't going to budge. Do you walk away from that and risk, getting hurt the way Dupree did this year, potentially changing your market value in the future? Now, granted, Dupree's market value, I guess, didn't change too significantly overall, but I mean, is that the hill you want to die on if you're Watts camp? We talked about it from the Steelers angle, but from Watts and his agent's angle, is that the hill where you just want to walk away from that 50 million, or that's virtually guaranteed?
Right. I mean, look, and the selling point once again for the Steelers, inherently are the Steelers doing anything wrong here? No, but they're also way behind the times when it comes to the rest of the NFL and the guaranteed money, especially on these big deals here. All right, so the Steelers, if you just look back over time, they have a humongous, nice track record when it comes to paying out large portions of these deals. It's not just like they're going to take Watt after, let's say, Watt has one bad season, or for God forbid he tears up he has an ACL injury this season. They're just not going to throw him on the trash, right?
Hmm.
And also, the Steelers have a long history of putting in these roster bonuses that are due in March there. So, I mean, that's something else that matures quickly, if you will. It forces a decision by the Steelers in March, and also the Steelers 9 times out of 10 take not only those roster bonuses, but a large portion of the base salary that the players do in the second year of that mega deal. They restructure it, they turn it into a signing bonus, and that further ties the player to the organization because you're prorating that out as a signing bonus there. So I get the Steelers' argument on the side of this thing is, look, it's virtually guaranteed. You're not going anywhere. You're going to get $100 million if you just be patient here.
Hmm.
But I also see the agent side of things where we want that $100 million fully guaranteed for the first 3 years.
Right. Yeah. So that's the dance there, and so we'll see when the music stops and what happens there. But really interesting discussion there. Braden Miller with a question: do you know of any other, quote, high upside waiver wire guys like a Tanner Muse that could catch the Steelers' eye? I don't know of any, but Dave, I know you wrote about Tanner. Is it Muse or Muse? Like, maybe it's just Muse. Is the right pronunciation there? So, what is your kind of rationale for why the Steelers could and maybe should have interest in him?
Would you like me to amuse you like a clown?
Yeah. Is that
Oh,
the
that's
funny?
cheesy.
How are you
That's
funny? What way are you funny
yeah,
thing? Yeah.
yeah. That's cheesy, is it not? All right.
Hmm.
You and I talked a lot about that kid last year, did we not?
We did.
Pre-draft process.
Hmm.
I mean, didn't we dedicate a lot of time during the pre-draft podcast, on Muse, especially after he had a combine dinner or whatnot with the Steelers? Look, this checks a lot of the boxes that the Steelers look for when it comes to these kind of players. Sparky, cheap, draft pedigree, good kid, all the above. It checks all the boxes there. Now, what's his upside as a player?
Yeah, he's always been that awkward fit of what position is best for him, and a good athlete maybe didn't have a defined home. Probably as an off-ball linebacker, I guess is where he's going to fit, but it's probably more so even just the path of a Miles Killebrew, tweener hybrid type, but really just maybe at best a core special teams kind of a guy.
Right. I mean, but what's the worst case scenario you get here? A better Ulysses Gilbert, a better Marcus Allen.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario is, I mean, the guy just doesn't make it, and what have you really lost in the process? Not a whole lot. So, I mean, certainly it's worth maybe taking that flyer on. I would swap him out for EG3 in a heartbeat. Again, I'm still surprised UG3 is here, to be honest with you. Now, maybe that changes next couple of days when Carl Joseph gets, presumably promoted from the practice squad. But yeah, I mean, I would not. It obviously it's a low to no risk investment to put in a claim on him.
Right. I mean, and as far as anybody else right now, I mean, I can only see past what the waiver wire had for us today. To be honest with you,
Hmm.
I don't know what else might happen in the next week or so, next few days. That look, there's going to be another player or two, obviously waived by some teams before the games get started on Sunday. There, I can't really see you know past there, but. Muse is a guy that we have talked about quite a bit, and I don't think you'd go wrong in claiming him. Now, on the flip side, as soon as that news was reported this morning, my first inclination was to think, man, surely there's a team out there that would claim him off waivers before it gets to the Steelers' turn, right?
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. It's interesting, though, as you have in the article here, they met with him last year, and that was about the only pro day Tomlin and Colbert went to. It was the only pro day they went to last year because right after that, everything got shut down because of the pandemic. So they would probably remember that guy better than most other pro day circuits because they didn't get to talk to a lot of players in person for the pro day circuit last season.
Right.
Let's see, a couple more questions here. Gonna probably end the stream about 5 minutes early, so in about 10 minutes or so. So get in your questions here last second. Have a one here from John Fleckenstein. Hypothetical: if DeCastro retires right after the season, do the Steelers re-sign Hilton? Again, like that first question from Mutated Genome, it's really hard to answer, but to indulge the hypothetical, yeah, I'll say yes. Obviously, they really liked and appreciated Hilton, and they wanted the skill set. And if they knew they were going to release Nelson because of the cap, and kick Sutton to the outside spot, then you'll have Hilton in the slot and Hayden at left corner and Sutton at right corner, and the team probably feels pretty good about that. So who's to say? Who knows? Impossible to guess. Obviously, here's a question here from John, but I'll go ahead and say yes. What
What
about you,
was
Jay?
what was the what was the overall question? You lost me.
If DeCastro retires right after the season, do the Steelers re-sign Mike Hilton? What do you think would have happened?
Yeah, I mean that's hard to say, right? I
Sure.
mean, they definitely liked him, and I would like to think that they would have figured out a way based on looking at the contract that he got. I would like to think that they would have.
I think so too. Again, they really seen the value of that skill set, and understandably so. That skill set's it's valuable, and it's be really hard to find that physical slot corner that kind of plays like a linebacker. So if you wanted to keep that guy, you're not going to find that guy elsewhere. Is kind of the point. There are only a handful of guys that are capable of playing like that and play it well enough to start. He was one of those guys. And Braden's asking, is DeCastro officially retired? Not to my knowledge. He said he was going to have the surgery and kind of see how things felt. I've not heard a peep from him since he was released. Basically, obviously he presumably had the surgery, so he's probably recovering and rehabbing and taking it from there. But at this point, him playing again might be pretty small odds.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't seen him. He's not on a reserve retired list yet. So I mean, I think he's still recovering from the ankle surgery or what right
Hmm.
now. So uh, I don't know. Never say never about nothing, right?
Sure, yeah, never know. I mean, it could be a year from now, and the guy might feel healthy, taking the year off, and come back. So not going to discount it here. Mike's at.
I have a feeling that guy's going to get real comfortable though with the money that he's probably got in the
That's
bank
true.
right now, and seeing Andrew Luck, yeah, David DeCastro not real happy with the business side of things. I don't think either right now.
Sure, and I get that totally, but it is a business, and that's how it works sometimes. D. Heverly, hey fellas, what's up with the McFarland injury? I didn't hear any specifics on it. Thanks. I honestly have no idea, D. Heverly. I've not heard one thing about the injury. It happened sometime after the team broke camp, after the Lions game, before the finale versus Carolina. He did not make the trip, so they did not indicate what the injury was when they put him on IR, or Tomlin did not mention it during any sort of press conferences, other than to say that he was receiving medical attention the way Zach Banner was. So I don't even know what Banner's injury is for sure. So I could not tell you. Do you have really?
No, I mean, you got me there. I mean, all we can do is speculate, and it probably wouldn't be good to do
Hmm.
right now.
Mike's asking about, are we going to go back to weekly Monday streams or stick with every other week? We'll see. I'm kind of leaning towards every other week right now. Dave and I will have to talk about it, but it just the schedule gets so busy here. We'll just have to kind of play it by ear, but we'll keep you posted here in the community tab of the channel. Next question or comment here comes from Paul Brown. Says, "Hey Alex, just checking in at work. Love listening to these. I'll listen in on Apple Podcasts when you release it. Go Steelers." Thank you, Paul. Hope you're enjoying work here. So you have to work on Labor Day. That's a bummer, but thanks for listening. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you for listening, for sure.
Let's see. Storm saying, "What are our plans next year?" I assume, like Desmond Ritter. What are your guys' thoughts on him? I have not, obviously, college football is back this week. I haven't really spent a lot of I haven't paid close attention to the full stock report of quarterbacks week one, but I know, to kind of switch gears here slightly, Dave, you were really impressed by Nevada's Carson Strong this weekend, their comeback win over Cal.
Yeah, and I sent you the tape on that. I think I sent Jonathan the tape on that as well too. Look, it's still early in this thing, and I'm still trying to learn who is what right now. But this kind of stems going back from my boy Romeo Dubs, who I think is going to be just have a tremendous season, and I really started to fall in love with him late last season, wondering if he was going to declare. He didn't. He went back to school. Also, I live in Nevada. It's not hard to get the games here on top of it here. But Carson Strong really looked impressive. I thought he really made a lot of good throws in that game. I think you're going to hear more and more about this kid as time goes on. Plays in that air raid offense too, and how can you not like that if you're
Hmm.
a football fan, right, Alex? I mean,
Absolutely.
air raid offense, and a guy that you can that you've seen, I think, grow in that offense there. I think there's interviews of him going back, said he didn't know what he was looking at sometimes, whether it was cover zero, cover two, sometimes. And he's got a full grasp of that offense. It's going to be, if he stays healthy, if that tight end of theirs stays healthy, and if Romeo Dubs stays healthy, that's going to be a fun off. Hey, it's not Pac-12 after dark, but what is that conference that they're in? What is
Yeah,
that conference?
the Midwest. No.
Yeah, Midwest. Anyway,
Yeah.
football after dark. Out. Make sure you tune into some Nevada games this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to after that week one performance there from Carson Strong. So a couple more questions here. I have one from Jason Bodine. How possible is it we'll see Roche come back a la Tupac? I mean, Tuzar skipper. We'll see. I mean, you never know what happens with the roster shuffle and churn of the season. Obviously, Skipper did not stick with the Giants, so we'll see if Roche does. I think Roche overall has a better chance to stick than Skipper did, just a better pure pass rusher, more I'd probably say more athletic guy overall than Tuzar Skipper, but we'll see. It's really impossible to really gauge that and guess that, Jason.
Yeah, probably a 50-50 bet. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think anybody should be shocked if they waive him, 5 weeks into the season or whatnot, need the roster spot, because look, injuries happen and he's at the bottom of the food chain right now. And if he's not a huge special teams demon, there's going to be a select, 3, 4 guys there at the bottom that become expendable, I think, so
Sure.
we'll stay tuned, right?
Stay tuned indeed. Maurice asking for our prediction for the Bills game. We're going to save that for Friday's Terrible Podcast, Maurice. So I'm going to leave that a little teaser and tell you to listen to the podcast on Friday when Dave and I will give our predictions. Let's see. Nick Durham says, "Gotta love football. Go Steelers." Let's see. Marty saying, "Do you think linebackers are going to be covering the slot?" Yeah, I'm going to guess it'll happen at some point. Not as a matter of principle for them, but it's just they don't adjust to it enough. And I think Buffalo's going to test that with Cole Beasley and maybe Diggs right out of the gate. And so the Steelers, that's been on tape for so many years now. And I imagine teams will continue to see if that changes, if their schematics and approach change, this season. And it looks like that Mark Andrews, according to Mike and looking at reports on Twitter, has gotten a long-term deal, 4 years, $56 million for the Ravens starting and now star and now well paid starting tight end.
Yeah, let's see how much of that is indeed fully
Hmm.
guaranteed. All right. All these initial numbers look good. In fact, it says here he gets 30.1 in full guarantees per Jonathan Jones. All right. So 30.1 million in full guarantees. I would imagine that's more than just the first year money with him. So we'll have to see how that breaks down there, and you can see part of the issue a guy like T.J. Watt would have if they're not going to guarantee anything more than the first year. But that'll be an interesting contract to look at for sure.
Yeah, great pick though by Baltimore, and certainly he'll be continued, focal point of that offense, especially if that run game maybe falters a bit with all the injuries there in the backfield. So that is going to do it for Dave and I. Again, ending the stream just a couple minutes early because I have a fantasy football draft at 8 p.m. So thank you guys for being here. We'll right now kind of schedule things for being back in 2 weeks. If we come back next week, I'll let you guys know in the community tab. And I really appreciate everybody being here, asking questions, all the super chats, just an overwhelming amount of super chats today. So very thankful for you guys' generosity here from everybody who donated and everybody who just asked questions in general. So Dave, thanks for being here as always. Hopefully next time we talk, we're talking about the TJ Watt extension finally happening.
Absolutely, and say a prayer for Tunchilkin and his family
Mhm.
tonight and all. And thank everybody for the super chats and all tonight. And Alex, thank you for putting this on once again. You do a fantastic job. Peace and love, everybody.
Thank you very much. All right, yeah. If you guys want to see this again, it'll be up on Steelers Depot here in a little bit. It'll also be archived on my YouTube channel, and of course on the channel we'll be talking about the Bills game, previewing that, and then recapping, analyzing it throughout the season. So if you guys enjoy the video and the channel, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.